Hi, welcome to the Blues Connection. I'm Matty T, and today my guest is Guyle Taber.
Hey, Matty.
Welcome, Guyle.
Thank you so much.
Guyle is the leader of the popular band, the Delta Rockets, and we're real excited to have you here today, Guyle.
I'm excited to be here. This is fantastic.
Tell me, how long have you been running the band, the Delta Rockets?
Well, it's I got to say it's a little bit of a stretch to say I'm running the band. I have been in the band since 2007. The band actually predated me by about a year with Mark and Vern and Dan, and then I joined, and then we've been going. We started off as a blues band back then, so from 2007 till now. I like to think of it as kind of a musical democracy.
Okay.
Is it that? I don't know.
Who's the longest standing member in the band?
Probably me at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
no, not probably.
I think you do run that band. I don't know, a little birdie told me that. I don't
Fair
know.
enough.
So how do you see the band as far as what styles or what
That's a
genre
great
do you
question.
think you fit in?
The band has evolved as most bands around here do. We started off, like I said, as a blues band, and then we started getting into a little bit of R&B and some, classic rock. And then as members come and go in bands around here, it's all very fluid. We started to angle more toward like Motown and danceable R&B music. So I think one of the strengths to me of the band at this point is the ability to play music across various genres. So you want us to be a blues band, we can be a blues band. You want us to be Motown R&B, we can definitely do that. You want to dance, we can do that as well. So to me, versatility is the key.
What would you say do you have a favorite genre, or do you like a lot of different types of music?
I have to say my favorite genre is probably one we don't even play. It's more progressive rock. It's heavier stuff, which is my origin.
Now, you play drums in this band, but I know you play guitar as well, maybe some other instruments that people aren't aware of.
Yeah, I do play guitar. I started playing drums probably when I was about 12. And probably by 14, my brother was playing guitar, and I just thought, I want to play guitar too. So I've been playing guitar since about 14. I play bass, on my own recordings. I started off playing trumpet, way back in the day, so I could play brass instruments, noodle around on the piano, but mostly it's drums and guitar.
Are you a reader of music?
Yeah. Well, I started off playing trumpet, so
right.
I can play, treble clef music. I can't read bass clef music.
How about drum charts?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh,
yeah.
very
I
good.
did drum corps back in the 70s, and so that's a lot of reading,
In high school?
In high school and just slightly out of high school.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular favorite, do you consider yourself a drummer first, or is that your main instrument?
I do. Yeah, I consider myself a drummer first. I think that's probably, if I look over the arc of my life, the moments where I was the happiest is when I was playing drums. It's probably because I was always playing drums in bands, but here and there I got to play guitar with bands. But yeah, I consider myself a drummer first.
Do you have any particular one or two, three drummers that have influenced you that you favor?
I do. I have a cluster of drummers that I have admired since I was a kid, and I'll start off by saying, the drummer that got me drumming is Peter Criss from Kiss. I was a huge Kiss fan in the Kiss Army. And that got me wanting to pound on things. My mom's Tupperware, for instance, that she had to replace several times until she got me a drum kit. And then I went on to, guys like Neil Peart and Bill Bruford and Stuart Copeland and Terry Bozzio. Those are probably my big influential drummers at this point. And each one of them has, those subtle nuances of playing that I like to think I've incorporated into some of the things I can do. I really love the attack and the percussiveness of Stuart Copeland and the Police. I mean, it's just his drumming style is signature. And then Bill Bruford's snare tone, his use of rudiments, in the stuff that he did with Yes and UK. Neil Peart, he's kind of the guy that got me into the progressive side. So all the progressive drumming that Neil Peart inspired, not only me but thousands of drummers around the world. And then just to have a drummer that you want to aim for, that you'll probably never get there, there's Terry Bozzio, and his work with Frank Zappa and UK and Missing Persons.
Where are you from?
I'm from Tucson,
Arizona. You lived there till?
I lived there till 79. I grew up there my dad was in the Air Force, so we moved around. I was born in Georgia, but we ultimately settled in Tucson. Left there in '79 when my dad retired, and he brought us out to Vacaville. So.
Okay, so now you mentioned you were in the KISS Army.
Yeah, I was. There was a time where I was embarrassed to tell people that, because
I know what you mean, but it's kind of cool now.
But now it's, everybody's, I don't know.
KISS is a great band.
They've got the respect now. I mean, they're still corny. Are they corny? Yeah, they're very corny. But I love the music, and I look back at the songwriting. I look back at the way they recorded that music. I look back at the live performances that they did, and I got to tell you, the best concert I've ever been to was KISS. I've been to a lot of concerts, and so have you. The best concert I've ever been entertained at was KISS. Probably because I could sing every song, and I knew everything that was coming up. But.
Right. That's okay. Hey, you're watching the Blues Connection. We're going to be right back after a word from our
Welcome
sponsor.
to the drum department. Here we have 15 different models of drum kit, ranging in price from $389 all the way up to $1,500. We got loads of cymbals, 12 different snare drums, every type of stick you can imagine, drums galore. Come on down. We'll get you beaten in no time.
Hi, welcome back. This is the Blues Connection. I'm Matty T, and again, my guest is Guyle Taber, and we're just shooting the breeze here and talking music. And Guyle, tell me, what kind of, as far as drum kits that you, I know you own a few drum kits. Do you have do you have any configurations? Maybe I should ask you. That's your favorite configuration of.
Well, what it comes down to, quite honestly, is do I want to haul around a lot of stuff? And so, if I had a roadie with me all the time, so I'd probably bring out everything but the kitchen sink. I'd probably bring out a big 2-kick set with 4 rack toms, cymbals everywhere, the whole Neil Peart set, which I love to play on. I mean, it's like option anxiety. There's all kinds of stuff around you to hit. But what it comes down to is, do I want to set that up, and do I want to tear it down at 1 o'clock in the morning and haul it home? No, I don't. So, and to be honest, the music that we play in the Delta Rockets and some of the other bands I'm in doesn't even require that kind of, instrumentation. So what I typically do is just a kick, 1 rack, and 2 floors. They call that 1 up and 2 down.
1 up, 2 down? Yeah. John Bonham, 1 up.
John Bonham, yeah.
Down.
Absolutely. And you see it very commonly these days with a lot of drummers are going to that 1 up, 2 down thing. You very rarely see 2, unless you're
It
talking
is
about
much
fusion
more
drummers or
popular.
stuff like
It seems to be kind of the popular configuration right now.
Absolutely.
And it looks a cool look too.
Yeah, and I'm very comfortable behind the 1 up, 2 down, and it gets my ride cymbal in nice and close. I don't have to try to balance it over a whole bunch of rack toms.
What do you use different size sticks, or do you?
No, I have kind of, in fact, you turned me on to these Dennis Chambers Zildjian sticks. I love them because the size is nice. I can't even remember off the top of my head what the actual size is, but I think what's more important to me is the finish on them. It has a kind of a glossy finish, and it shows sometimes, like any musician, you'll get sweaty hands while you're playing, and the glossy finish on that tends to stay in my hand a lot better.
Okay, that's
Yeah, I
pretty
love
cool.
those Dennis Chambers sticks.
Now, when you're playing with the Delta Rockets, and I know in some other outfits as well, singing's a pretty big part of your arsenal.
Singing is, yeah. I've always loved to sing, and specifically harmony. Yeah, I would not really consider myself a lead singer, but I really do like within an ensemble to work on harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoy that. There's nothing. Well, I mean, mastering your instrument and having those zone moments when you're playing your instrument are fantastic, but right next to that would be those moments where 2 and 3 and 4 people harmonize. It's like a bell goes off in your head. You go, there it is. That's just fantastic. Let's try to do that again every time.
Right. Do you find that playing and singing at times is difficult to do it together?
It's interesting. Drummers have this thing called 4-way coordination, where your arms and your legs are all doing completely different things. And then singing over the top of that adds that 5th thing that you're trying to do at the same time. Talk about multitasking. I don't have a problem with singing and playing the drums. I really have never had a problem with that. What kills me is singing and playing guitar. It's the funniest thing. When I'm playing guitar, I can't sing. I feel like maybe that's something I need to work on.
It's a separation of mind.
Yeah, you're really good at it.
No, I play things I can do. I don't show you the things I can't do, right?
I mean, I was just watching the other night John Mayer, one of those shows he did back in 2007, and his ability to not only play, you know, whatever the specific motif is behind, but then to do some sort of advanced crazy stuff up the neck while he's singing, not looking at his fretboard. I'm like, what?
That's complete separation there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think drumming probably helps you with that a little.
Drumming does help, you know, but I don't know what it is. I just can go into autopilot. The other thing about playing guitar to me versus drumming, when I'm drumming, it's almost like I can put my body into autopilot because I know where things are going to come, where things are going to happen. I know, well, you know the music either way, but I sort of can just go on autopilot and I can just sing. I don't have to worry about, you know, curves in the road that are coming up. But when I play guitar, I noticed, you know, with the Hey Jude band that I'm in, there's no taking time off in your brain. There's no, like, you know, daydreaming. Because, you know, here comes all these crazy chords and then you got to sing over the top of it. I'm like, wow, this is really hard.
Right. Hey Jude, I'd like to talk to you about that. Hey,
Yeah.
we're going to take another quick little break. Thank you. Hi, Matty T here at the Tweed Hut Music Store, and I'm standing here right in front of our guitar wall, electrics and acoustics and basses. We have over 350 guitars in stock. You ought to come on down and take a look. Prices starting at $99 on new guitars and even less for some used guitars. And we run all the way up to a few $1,000s on some premium guitars in our premium guitar room. Tweed Hut Music Store, 359 Merchant Street, Vacaville, California. Come on down. Hi, we're back, and my guest is Guyle Taber. Hey, Guyle.
Hey, Matty.
Tell me, you must have some rock and roll stories. Is there one that pops into your mind, or two that pop into your mind that are a fun story or something crazy that happened? Or
One thing that I remember is, you know, right out of high school, I got into a lot of progressive bands, you know, doing like crazy Rush, Brand X kind of stuff. It was all original material, which was fun back then, you know, writing and creating and coming up with your own ways of coming at stuff. So we had a record we were going to try to do at a studio in Lafayette. I guess it's a studio that a lot of my friends have actually recorded at. I didn't even know that. But it was also a place where Eddie Money recorded. And so my band was in there doing our stuff. And I guess Eddie Money got into an argument with his drummer. So his manager comes in during one of our breaks and he said, you know, Eddie's been hearing what you're doing over there in the other studio, and he'd like to know if you could put together a promo pack for yourself that he could look over to see if he could, you know, use you as a drummer. And I said, wow, that's pretty cool. So for like the next week, I just crammed, you know, I did videos of myself, photos of all my gear. And back in those days, you know, I've always loved recording, but I had one of those, you probably know those old Yamaha cassette 4-track studios where you put a piece of tape on the tape and it would record backside and the front side on one, you'd have 4 tracks.
Right.
So I recorded, you know, myself doing all kinds of crazy stuff on the drums on this little studio, submitted the whole promo pack and kind of waited, and like a week or so later, his manager said, well, you know, they made up, so, you know, he doesn't need you. I'm like, well, that's about as close as I'm going to come, I suppose. It was after that I just kind of, you know, I got into top 40 bands because I figured, again, it's just one of those practical, pragmatic decisions. I thought, well, if I'm going to be playing progressive music, original music that sort of pleases nobody except us, we can't get any gigs. Right. Nobody wants us to hire us for parties. I think I'd like to play more. Right. I'd like to perform more. So, you know, I threw in the towel and kind of toured around with a top 40
And then the older
band.
you get, the smaller the kit gets.
Exactly.
Go from stacks to combos and amplifiers.
By the way, the Fender Deluxe Reverb, the one that I got, just what a great amp. Everybody who plays that just
nice
is
amp.
stunned by it.
Yeah, he's talking about the Fender's new 68 custom Deluxe Reverb, silver face panel.
I think you've got one downstairs,
with,
right?
with a drip panel. Yeah, it's a fabulous amp.
Tremendous amp.
Yeah, a lot of
Portable, small, powerful, amazing sound.
We were just talking on the break about you know, our own personal rehearsal spaces or how we go about it. And Guyle just mentioned that he has his own personal recording studio at his house. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so what got us talking about this is this amazing space that Matty's built in here, this elbow room to be able to have a full drum kit and all these amps and guitars and just a place where people can sit and watch. It's quite amazing. I mean, I don't know anybody else around here that has a space like this to rehearse. My rehearsal stories are probably a lot like a lot of other folks. Is my front room in my house was our rehearsal space for years. which meant you'd walk into my house and here's all this gear and here's all this equipment, and everybody had asked questions about it. And then there's the concerns, you don't know who's coming in your house and seeing all this stuff and walking away and thinking, I remember that, right?
Remember what's at that place, yeah.
So I have a 3-car garage, I guess. Now it's a 2-car garage. I took one space and built a whole studio inside there. Pretty nice little space, not nearly as big as this is, but it definitely serves the purpose for 5 and 6 people in there, and I've got a bunch of recording gear in there and do my own recording in there with the various bands. But it's really nice. It's nice to have a place sort of call your own, to put your gear on display, to play. You have an idea in your head when you're sitting in the kitchen or at the breakfast table. I think I'll go out to the studio and just see what that sounds like on tape. It's really nice.
Yeah, I can remember, just spurred a memory. It's probably 1980. 86, has to be 86, and I'm home. I'm out of college, I graduated college, and I'm home, and living at home, and I started a new band. So we needed a place to practice. So we practiced in my mother's front. My parents had gone off to Europe, so they weren't in Europe. They were gone for the weekend or something. They were gone. They were out of town. I'm like, we can just rehearse in the front family room. It'd be great. So I'm expecting them home a couple days later, right? And they came home a day early. So my bandmates are like, well, shoot, just leave it because we're gonna go again tomorrow night or whatever, And my mother came home a day early and walked in the house, and it was like, me being on my own for a few years and then moving back home. I was used to having my own, being a young adult.
Sure.
And, nobody telling me, what I could do or what I couldn't do. And here I was back in my parents' home, which puts you back in the, you need to do what your parents expect you to do in their home.
Within those boundaries.
So my mother comes in, she's a pretty particular person about, a neat home.
Sure.
And there's gear everywhere and beer cans, and it was a really bad scene. Anyway, needless to say, 2 weeks later I had a new apartment.
I need to do something about this, and I know my mom's going to make me do something about this, so I better do it now.
So, 51 years old, and I'm still thinking about the day I irritated my mother, but that wasn't the only day.
We all walk around with baggage like that, right? Mom, I hope you're not watching this.
Did you get support from your family?
I got amazing support from my mother. In fact, like I said earlier, I was beating my mom's Tupperware because Tupperware really does sound good. And she couldn't take it anymore, so she went out and found an amazing Ludwig Ringo Starr kit for me, a 3-piece kit, 4-piece with a snare. And I got to play that, in the house, in my mom's house, in my bedroom, driving everybody crazy for well over a year. Speaking of equipment, and the equipment you've had over your lifetime and the stuff that you wish you had never sold, why did you sell that?
Right.
The Ringo Starr drum kit is something I wonder, is it still on this planet somewhere? Because I want it back.
Right. Did you have a rock and roll room? Did you have posters in your room growing up?
Yeah, I had Jimmy Page posters. I had, Angus Young posters. Yeah, definitely. In fact, in my bedroom, I was so smitten by the shape of a Les Paul. I mean, to this day, I'm smitten by that shape. It's just a classic shape. I had painted a mural on my wall in my bedroom without asking my parents. They were like, "What is that? When did that show up?" Isn't it beautiful, Mom? It's a work of art.
My shape was the SG.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that shape, although I've never played an SG. I mean, I played them and I've sold them and I've owned them, but I've never owned personally for me to play. But my shape was the SG. I really loved that shape, and the reason is I saw this Frank Zappa. It was like a cartoon, and I have vague memories of it because I only saw it when I was a kid. It was probably on Don Kirshner's rock concert or something. We didn't have internet. We didn't have that much access to media like that. But he played this SG in this video cartoon thing, and I'm like, wow, that's the coolest guitar.
Yeah, that's the one that he passed on to Guyles, right?
I guess.
That amazing SG that Guyles still plays.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. So, so you said you had support from your mother. Did you practice it? You said you practiced in your bedroom. Did you use headphones with your record player? Or?
No, I was at that time, banging out a lot of Kiss. just playing. There's no headphones. I mean, the
So
one
you played along with the stereo blasting.
I would play along with the stereo, or I would just practice on my own. Things that I remembered from the Kiss Alive album, the first Kiss Alive album. But my mother was tremendously supportive. In fact, my mom was a little bit of a new age woman, in that she had, Santana albums, Led Zeppelin albums, Queen albums, all these great, this great music. In fact, I kind of stole the Led Zeppelin album from my mom because I thought it was so epic. And I remember listening to that first Led Zeppelin, I think it was Led Zeppelin
That's really
3.
unusual. So your mother, was she a young mother?
She was a young mother, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she had really good musical taste. And not just in rock. Well, she still does have great musical taste, but not just in rock, but in just across the board. I mean, from big band music to, to jazz, to rock, to the music of the 60s, the hippie era in the 60s. My mother is very, very intelligent, not just music, but across the board. She really is an amazing person and very supportive musically as well.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's really nice to hear. Where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself musically? 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Do you have any certain goals that you haven't achieved yet, or that you'd like to achieve?
I really would like to, at some point, circle back and work on some original material. Playing cover material. I mean, you've probably struggled with the same demons. It's like, well, cover material is great. People love to hear it. But you're regurgitating something that somebody else has done.
When you're young, you say, I don't want to be in a cover band.
Yeah.
I want to be
here
a
I
rock
am
and roll star.
3 cover bands, I want to write original material. I want to play something that's ours. And
Right.
it's kind of one of the goals that we've sort of loosely aimed for in the Delta Rockets is, one of these days we're going to write some original material. We all write music. We all write lyrics. We all write melody. We just need to coalesce it all together and just come out with one song, maybe 2 songs.
Who are the members in your band?
That's Rick Wedby on bass, Kevin Seaman on keys, Paul Wells from the Air Force Band on guitar, and Kaylee Bordeaux on vocals. All tremendous
excellent
musicians.
players, yeah.
All tremendous musicians.
That's fabulous. So how do you have any big shows coming up in the near future that you'd like to promote?
Yeah, we have.
As far as just an immediate
We're
thing.
coming back to the Dixon May Fair, the Delta Rockets, I think on May 11th, I think it is. Lots of gigs throughout May. I can't recall off the top of my head, but we're all over the place in May. And then throughout the rest of the year, you can just go to the deltarockets.com and see the calendar up there. Tons of stuff coming up. Always working on gigs. Of course, the Hey Jude band, lots of gigs in May too as well. That's a Beatles cover band.
Now, who's in that band?
That's Rick Wedby on bass again, Ed Ulibarri on keys and vocals, Michael Gay on drums, and Stu Sweatman on guitar.
Do you guys do a particular era of the Beatles, or do you just go across the board, different eras?
We do. We aim to go from, 63, 64 to, say, Rubber Soul. Particularly, but there are exceptions, like we do, Hey Jude from Let It Be, and some of the other newer stuff working on, like Sgt. Pepper.
You kind of have to do Hey Jude.
I know, it's kind of like the name of the band. But yeah, and then, we throw in some other stuff here and there. We do some Monkees stuff and era.
Do you? What do you do with the Monkees?
I'm a Believer and Last Train to Clarksville.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to see you do that. I'm a Monkees fan. That's what got me playing music. So.
You know what? I watched a show the other night. And this
Silly
isn't about the
true.
Monkees, but it's about the same era. About the Dave Clark 5. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Those guys came out with so much good music. I mean, everything they played on there, I'm like, I know that song. I know that one too. I know that one too. I need to know more Dave Clark 5.
That reminds me of my experience when I was, I don't know, must have been 13 or 14 years old, and the Buddy Holly story came out with Gary Busey. That's one of my all-time favorite rock and roll movies. Is the Buddy Holly story. And as a teenager, those songs were old songs, but you had heard them, but you didn't necessarily. I didn't necessarily know who they were. Or the name. Song after song, I've heard that song.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that song.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that song. It's amazing, some artists that have so many hits, and then years later, you don't even, young kids coming up, they're like, they don't know who it is. I think it happens to all of us.
Yeah. Speaking of young kids, it's very nice to see that some of the older music that, it's not even really old, from the 70s and the late 60s, stuff that we sort of grew up with, is popular again among young folks. red letter day in my life is one day when my son Wyatt was probably like 16 years old. He came to me and said, "Dad, do you have any Pink Floyd? I want to listen to some Pink Floyd." And my heart was just like, "Oh boy, that's so awesome. My boy wants to listen to Pink Floyd."
I never had that experience. I had to turn the channel on the radio when we have a generation gap. I remember thinking as a kid, well, there won't be such a generation gap when I get older. Yeah, right. Anyway, hey, Guy, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Matty. This has been
Appreciate it,
terrific.
man. It's been fun talking
Really
to you.
appreciate it.
Guyle Taber, Delta Rockets, Hey Jude Band, professional musician. It's been a pleasure to have him. You're
Thank you
watching
very
the Blues Connection, and I'm Matty T. And until next time.
Let's call this song exactly what it is. Just move your hips with a feeling from side to side.